The minutes, any discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
Mr. Pfaff?
Yes.
Mr. Mashinsky?
Yes.
Albert votes yes, passes 4-0. Next, the approval of claims.
Make a motion to approve the claims.
A second.
Motion made by Mr. Mashinsky, seconded by Mr. Pfaff to approve the claims. Any discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
Mr. Pfaff?
Yes.
Mr. Mashinsky?
Yes.
Albert votes yes, passes 4-0. Sewage Department Head report.
I have several things. The lawn, the latest version I've got from TCI is that now they're gonna wait till fall to de-rock it and reseed it and do whatever needs to be done there. The other issue that I've been having is, when you come in and check the plant every day, you write down your raw and final flows. If for some reason somebody forgets that, or we get a scheduling goof up where it doesn't happen, that data is lost after 24 hours. So I talked to Automatic Systems, who put in the system, and they said, well, your engineer didn't spec that, and it's gonna be roughly $10,000 to put that program in. So as luck would have it, we were having our antivirus software was out of date. They gave us a 6-month free whatever, and we got the guy that has been doing the police department and has done some water stuff before. He come out and installed some backup storage and some antivirus software, and I was talking to him about the dilemma with Automatic Systems. And lo and behold, he called me last night and he said, hey, I think I've got it. Come in the morning and I'll call you and we'll check and see. But what he developed in there is 6 times a day it's taking a snapshot of the screen on the computer. So if we leave it in flows anytime through the course of the day, when it takes a snapshot, I've got that.
Oh, okay.
He's saying now we can keep 6 months, probably 6 months. He figured we'll have to download that file.
Right.
But we were able to get that done, so whatever our costs are on that one, we saved a bunch.
Yeah.
I have
How often does
something-
that kind of stuff like that happen? Better play the lottery.
Yeah, yeah, but our Huber system that we've had some meetings on, discussions, the grit removal system. Gas loader came in and installed the baffle on the 20th. So every working day since then, I've been running lab on the grit, on the pump effluent, and checking to see whether we gained anything or we didn't. And you guys probably won't understand what I'm giving you, but Gloria, I even got you a copy this time. But basically what this is telling you is, I didn't have any data on the percent volatiles and grit for the week leading up to it. We just haven't bothered running it. We knew what it was, hence the reason why they mounted the baffle. But what I'm experiencing, the biggest column is this left column when it says the pump effluent. That is what has been through the fine screen and the grit removal system. And that is a calculation based on the amount of sand and gravel I'm getting in a sample times the gallons of flow that went through in that day. So you can see there's some days where it spikes, it's like 151, 189. What that usually is a Monday. And even though I mounted that sample tap on the side of that pipe, it still is collecting sand and gravel as it comes through. So I'm seeing my Monday readings are usually real high. If you look at that and you take that and divide it by 2, it puts you right in line with our averages on the rest of it. So basically, in a sense, over this 10-12 day period, we had 36.1 pounds was our low, or no, 24.2 was our low. Our high was 189 pounds of sand, gravel, silt that got by the Huber system. The other discouraging information on here is sludge to dumpster, percent volatiles. What a volatile is corn seeds, organics, anything other than grit. Anything that will burn off at 1,000 degrees is considered a volatile. Anything that will not burn off, in the end, when you see the sample, it's sand, it's a pebble, it's, a
Solid.
concrete, some type of inorganic solid. So we're still running real high volatiles. I'm still using 4 to 6 bags of floor dry a week to get it from the basement up into the dumpster. So we gained nothing there, and I really don't see where we gained anything in the pump effluent section either. So what I guess I'm saying to you is, I've done my part. You guys need to see what you wanna do.
They need to come out and get it right. We're holding $21,000 in retainage from them, so we can sit on that for as long as it takes.
Dan, has this been communicated to Don and to Huber as well then at this point?
It was halfway through the last cycle, and Don didn't understand what I said to him, what I sent to him. What I'm gonna do is hand mail this
Okay,
to him so that he will, you talk to him after.
Yeah, and I can take this data and put it in with our old, or the prior information prior to the baffle being installed, and then he gets the good, all the formulas built in so he can see the comparison
okay.
and differences. That would probably be a good way.
What's their next step? Where'd they put the baffle?
They put the baffle in the end of the grit system, and they put the shorter one in first, for fear that the taller one would create more organics. I'm guessing what Huber's next step is gonna be to say, put the tall baffle in, which is gonna hold that water another 2.5 inches higher in that channel, which I'm sure what they're thinking is that's less velocity going through there in that critical pinch point area, and it will bring more grit back.
That's not at the inflow side, that's at the,
That's on, well, if you're standing there looking at that hopper that keeps overflowing, the baffle is just to the left of that hopper, right at the base of the steps. The right-hand section from the steps is the influent.
right. And they haven't, is that gonna be their next option? Because we had looked at.
That's what I'm assuming they're gonna say is gonna be next, but along with this change of this baffle, they wanted to increase runtime, which I have not done yet. I'm running every 15 minutes. They wanted to go to every 10 minutes, which kinda scares me that if I'm already getting 92, 93% organics, and I'm having to add floor dry to get it upstairs, if I increase that runtime, that's more organics. So I guess what I'm gonna wait for is for Don to say, okay, switch it to 10 minutes, and then I got a funny feeling it's gonna be a handful. But I don't know, my data's good, and I'm just as consistent as I was before we put the baffle in. Now you gotta bear in mind, it was shipped with a baffle. They didn't like the production of the organics, the volatiles, so they cut a V in the baffle. So basically, all they did was replate the original baffle.
So it's back where it was when they put it in.
Yeah. So along with the organics, I've got, the smell. Obviously, when you drive by there, what you're smelling is anaerobic sludge. That's all we got on wastewater.
Okay. We have the SRF disbursement. Number 26, Thieneman, it's $60,220. LAI Limited is 36.2, and the local share is 64.51. That's what we reported last month of what we're gonna pick up, so that's nothing new. And this should be it, right, except for the retainage to Huber for, I think it was 21 and some change, wasn't it?
430.88.
So that
The bottom.
represents the
Second
payment of
bottom.
Thieneman's retainage then? Or do we still have retainage for that?
No, this is it, after these disbursements, the only thing that John is holding is the 21,000 for Hooper.
Do we have to worry about with the landscaping not being complete now?
Yeah.
It's a gamble. You had issues with them last project.
I think it's a good idea right now to wait till fall. I mean, from the standpoint of you're not gonna be out watering the Jesus out of it, because
Yeah.
it's hot and dry.
And they admitted there's still a large amount of rocks that they would like to attempt to get out of there.
Do
They
we
have-
have an agreement with them as to what they're going to do in terms of landscaping?
No.
who's been in contact with you or?
Well, the guy that I talked to, Friday was Tim Riggins. He is, one of the he's above the Lori, lady that's the job, in charge of the job right now. He said they're gonna get the fence fixed, they're gonna, get the yard fixed. They addressed a couple of issues, Friday. They got a drain fix that was broken, some door stops in, and a couple other things they did address. But I mean, what do you figure the landscape's gonna cost? I mean, if they did nothing at all and we hired somebody to come in, we could have 20 grand in
Yeah, well, no, they're
you know.
gonna do it.
And it's only 50,000. I would suggest can we table this till next month, or are we able to do that or no?
I guess I would be interested in, I mean, is that amounts above and beyond the retainage? Because I mean, if there are amounts that are being paid above and beyond that, the theme, and I don't have an issue with that, but in pending resolution of the landscaping issues, I think that we should continue to hold on to that retain. That would be my thought. I mean, that's our leverage to get them to come back and address those items. I mean,
Do we wanna table this then?
or you could approve it pending resolution of some sort of an agreement from them that we know for certain that they're gonna come back and do the landscaping work.
Your 36,200, that's your pump supplier, and we really have no issues with that.
Okay.
Is it LEI?
LAI.
Yeah, LAI.
They've done everything they're supposed to do, their equipment is working. I'm being honest with you, I
Right.
see no
No,
reason to hold theirs,
Yeah.
but,
We've been in operation about a year,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
But
July.
this 60,222, that's Thieneman's retainage then, for the total
No,
job?
That's a
haven't seen
payment,
those
yeah,
figures.
that's not retainage, that's payment.
Okay,
I mean, it could be retainage.
Next page, yeah, but keep it all.
That's the retainage that we have left.
Without looking at the
John's holding
retainage.
separate system. But
I mean, this is just, I mean, this could be what we're paying in retainage out. Could be that, I don't know what the breakdown is of it.
yeah, I guess, I mean, I agree with Dan, I don't have a problem with the payment of LEI's bill. I guess I would like to let's table the Thieneman one until we get that resolved. And if need be, I mean, if it came down to it, we could always convene a special meeting to deal with that, but you're right, we did have problems with them with the retainage on the last go around, and I wanna make double sure that they're gonna take care of these issues.
Well, I'll make a motion that we pay the disbursement to LAI for $36,200.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Albert, seconded by Mr. Pfaff to pay the disbursement to LAI Limited for $36,200. Any discussion? Mrs. Waddell?
yes.
Mr. Pfaff?
Yes.
Mr. B?
Yes.
Albert votes yes, passes 4-0. So we'll hang on to that.
So not to beat a dead horse here, but I mean, you guys are as familiar with this project as anybody, but I mean, if they've not done the work, landscaping was part of the project, I don't
You hold-
understand why we would pay the retainage
No,
to
you
them.
hold the retainage.
I mean,
until-
even if
That's
they
why you
had a
have to pay.
figure for landscaping, I mean, even if we hold that back, so there's some funding there.
Well,
that
that's
we
why
can
you have,
access.
that's why you have
Right.
retainage.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, a lot of projects I've been on,
I'll talk to John.
retainage holds out until the project is 100%
For
complete.
that,
Yeah.
usually for that vendor.
Yeah, so, like, for example, if I'm a subcontractor on a job and and we don't have, the full scope complete, we will not see that full retainage until that 100% of our scope is complete. And sometimes that takes, when you're going through the warranty process and substantial completion, that can take time.
And I would have thought that they would have sent, you guys a schedule saying, this is what we're gonna do. There are a couple other things that are outstanding. One of them is a pump and motor, that was damaged due to a construction tool that was left in the piping. It's an LEI pump, but it's Steinemann's responsibility to
Goes back to them.
repair it. I also have number 6 mixer is out, and right now that seems to have fallen in automatic systems hands of repairing that. So there's a couple of things besides just the yard,
Okay.
you know.
I was not happy when I went down there and saw that the fence post had hit.
Yeah, brand new.
Yeah,
You know,
ran to hit the fence post and didn't say anything about it, but kid would do.
So like, we could probably get a list of the remaining items and a schedule of completion, and kind of stay close to it, and say we'll pay the retainage once these are complete. Make it simple, date completed,
Mhm.
inspect.
You wanna talk to John tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll talk to John tomorrow.
Anything else under sewage? Thank you on the sewage, report there, Daniel. Water,
Water department, still investigating the possibility of VFD drives on the 2 high service pumps. I really don't have a whole lot other than that on water.
we had any more on, that, was that what you thought might be causing the bubble, the air?
It's still there.
Yeah, it's getting worse.
It's getting worse.
I grabbed a sample down at Greenway today for the health department, and I saw quite a bit of air in it.
I was up to mom and dad's and and I got a picture and it was white,
Yeah,
How long did it stay white?
a couple minutes.
Did it?
Yeah,
it's,
got a lot of
and
air.
if you look at it, it's just real fine bubbles.
Yeah.
You know, it's, and I still believe that when we installed that new piece of pipe and there was brand new pipe with new concrete lining, then you're using that valve to choke that water down so tight. I think it just creates bubbles in it, you know.
You got a
Irrigated
turbulence.
3,000 times over.
And once it's in there, what goes to the tower there at the plant goes up and
Just-
releases, but what goes to the system, you know, while it's pumping is what we're seeing in the dead ends and the outer reaches of town.
Tell people in town it's Perrier water or something.
If it gets much worse, we're gonna have to schedule another hydrant flushing just to try and,
Get
that
it
seemed to knock it down
Get some
last
of it
time.
down.
I think the real solution is we've gotta change our approach on how we're running those filters with the high service pumps.
And then one of the things is, I was looking on NIPSCO's website, they do have like a rebate for HVAC, like pumps. If you change them out to a VFD, they'll give you $75 per horsepower. If they do that with water, if they would do that same rebate with a water pump, that could be potentially like, that's 275 horsepower motors.
Yeah,
That could be
it's 270.
a decent chunk of change if NIPSCO would work with us.
150 horse per sitting there running.
If it's like a $30,000 system, I think if I calculated out like 10 grand of a rebate if they would do it for a municipal water system. It's worth a shot, I thought.
We did a test on them the other day, and the pump starting up was about 53 amps. And as that valve throttled down to get to the 750 gallons a minute, they went up to 87, 88 amps.
So you're working harder to push through a smaller opening.
Exactly. So I see nothing but an electrical savings if we do that, you know, because then we're gonna just basically slow that motor down to where it's not pumping 1,200-1,300 gallons a minute. We can slow it down to 750, 800, and that's less speed. It's running less current. It's
What's it basically like a rheostat, basically is how that works, where you throw on the-
VFD.
Yeah,
It takes the frequency, I'll try and make this simple. Electricity in the outlet is 60 hertz.
Right.
Which is 60 times a second, it switches poles.
right.
And it somehow or the other takes that frequency and works it out to where it limits it down to maybe 45 hertz. Or like at the wastewater plant, I'm running pumps at 27 hertz, which is just above the pumping capability. So that's what the key thing is you've got standard current running at 60 hertz, 60 times a second it's switching poles. And if you can slow that down, you slow the motor down.
Right.
You know, and you use less electricity. So. Hope that helped.
Yeah, yeah, so it's, basically you're slowing, you're putting less voltage in it.
It's hard to imagine anything doing 60, cycles in a second.
It's wavelengths or whatever,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you get that, Cheryl?
Yeah, that's why I just asked everybody if they understood all that.
There's gonna be a quiz afterwards.
Okay, got it. I'm
Next
taking
trivia.
notes.
Streets, or not, you didn't have any on water, did you? Streets.
I have a couple things.
Look it up.
We went around and looked at the streets we want to pave this year, and we're putting notice out to all the people that need to bid on it. So we've also got this Wyatt Fund money, but we're gonna wait till, that was a one-time shot from the state or whatever.
Pleasant surprise.
Yeah, pleasant and that money will be put in our, budgeted in for the next
How much
year's-
is that?
Next year's pay is $16,000, so that'll help
Good,
next year's
yeah, it will,
budget.
great.
And I wasn't here for the streetlights, but I talked with Ethan, I wanted to see if we could get, if we're getting more streetlights added up in the water tower, if we could also have LEDs put in. We've got over 60-some streetlights now. LEDs would save the town a lot of money.
It would.
But right now, Ethan can explain to you what NIPSCO has told them, but there's gonna be a little waiting time, so we'll just have to check back with them. But something to look for in the future.
We did,
And along those lines, I did reach out to NIPSCO about the issue that was raised at the last meeting about possibly installing some additional streetlights in Water Tower Place and what the process would be. And NIPSCO's response to that was basically come back to us with a plan as to how many lights, location, those type of things, and we'll review it and determine what the process would be and what the potential cost of the town. So, Darren and I and Bubba are gonna get together here in the next couple of weeks and put something together so that we can at least start that process.
I can probably get the map from LaPorte County.
Okay.
then they're talking, I mean, eventually someday they'll be able to get they'll probably be able to convert them all, I suppose.
The response I got today was that basically NIPSCO, this didn't really make a whole lot of sense, but the representative from NIPSCO said that they basically have a rate case right now that they're trying to get approved. So it sounded like everything is on hold as far as they go until that it gets approved. They're hopeful that that would get approved in the next 30 to 60 days. And once that happens, then they think that they may be able to begin offering programs for installing LED
Oh,
lights.
okay.
Raise the rates and give away some free.
Yeah,
It
raise the
was
rates.
kind of a rambling response that that was what they indicated.
But we're hoping someday for LED in all the lights. That'd be a good idea.
They've been surprisingly responsive for this.
Yeah, that was pretty good compared to last time.
Because it's during the rate increase.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Anything else on
And
streets?
new, easy to read bills.
That's
Anything else on
That's
streets? No salt?
No salt this time.
Parks? We have nothing on parks, no porta pot bids or anything? Please, Mr. Mercer, you have a minute.
Sorry. The stats for the month of June, we had 326 total calls for service, 150 traffic stops, 11 ordinance violations, and 6 accidents. And y'all received the email I sent everybody that Sheriff Boyd sent out for the last weekend regarding the activity in Wheatfield. What I did is I called the guys and we had a little special project Friday night and Saturday night. So between the evening shift and the midnight shift for Friday and Saturday, we had 65 total calls for service, 43 traffic stops. We got 2 drunk drivers off the road and we had 1 criminal arrest involving a disturbance. So we made a lot of noise. Actually, Rod got a call from his wife in Stark County that people she was working with at the hospital in Stark County were wanting to know what's going on in Westville because there's police lights everywhere. So that was my point, was to make a lot of noise and make Westville not very appetizing for that group. And we didn't have anybody coming to town. Not a single motorcycle, I didn't see any colors. So it worked out pretty well.
And
The next thing I have on there, the last couple meetings, we've been talking about the properties we have in town that are basically nuisance properties. And I gave you guys some pictures, and the first part of the pictures are just houses in the neighborhood. And I just wanted everybody to understand that these 2 houses we're talking about are surrounded by properties that people take a lot of pride in. And then as you flip through them, you're gonna see 356 West Jefferson and 255 North Street. And we had discussed about the procedures of going through the health department and that type of thing. And in the process of doing all that, I looked through our own ordinances. And in our own ordinances, we have a nuisance ordinance, it's 2007-1. And Ethan actually came in Monday and sat down with me and we went through this together. And in this ordinance, it gives us the authority, it gives the town the power to address buildings, that are a nuisance, that aren't fit for habitation. They provide harborage for rats, mice, snakes, vermin. It allows us to address the collection of rubbish, trash, refuse, junk, abandoned vehicles. Some of those pictures didn't come out in the black and white printer, but especially the house on 356 West Jefferson, it's open to everybody. The owner came in here and promised us he was gonna do something by, it was like June 17th. He hasn't done anything. He's gotten one citation this year already for tall grass. He's getting ready to get another one. There's a fuel can that I can see in there. He came in here and he told the town that he was gonna put this money into it, he was gonna restore the building, he's gonna, there's nothing there. This structure has been open to the weather for years. He's got OSB that is completely come apart from the weather hitting it. In one of the pictures, you can actually see vegetation growing in the subfloor. So, I'm not a builder, I'm not gonna claim to be a builder, but there's nothing there to save. It is, there's not a 2x4 in that structure that's worth the effort of keeping it. So my proposal to you folks is that we use the ordinance that we already have in place and order these property owners to address the nuisance and give them a reasonable amount of time, and if they don't, then each day that they still maintain that property in the same condition, I issue them a fine.
What is the fine for, is there a per day fine or?
You're gonna make me investigate.
I don't know.
It's a $100 fine,
For the first
For the
violation, $250 for each second or subsequent.
yeah, $250 for, and then each day is an additional fine, so it's gonna get expensive really fast, and they're gonna be forced to do something.
So each day, the additional fine is
$250.
$250 for each day, that's a lot.
So what the next step would be then, and this is what Darren and I discussed, is that the nuisance ordinance provides then that a law enforcement officer of the town shall give a notice to abate the nuisance. So what I would ask, if you were in agreement with that, is to authorize Darren and I to work together to prepare and send out that notice.
So
So
you
we-
send out the notice and say, okay, you have a nuisance, you have X amount of days to
Yeah,
address
we
it
have to
before we-
basically say, we have to give them a time frame, a description of the nuisance, a location of it, a statement of what they need to abate it. And that basically a statement then if they fail to do it, that we'll fine them and or take other action to enforce the ordinance.
Is it just these two properties you have the one on?
Well, these are the two that we know who own them.
Okay.
The
I
other
would
one,
think
that other
most likely
property-
to receipt, somebody will respond to, as opposed to these other vacant properties where.
That,
we have 2 or 3 vacant properties that eventually are gonna be liened by the town.
I heard, I don't know how true it is, but the one on East Jefferson was just sold.
Okay.
I heard it at a tax sale, but I don't know if it's up for tax or not. That's what I heard. I don't know.
Well, that'd be easy to find out if
Yeah.
you're on record.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
So, I mean, we've been very patient with these 2 properties. At one point, I sent the one on North Street to the health department, and nothing happened. I think we've been over backwards for Shane when he came in here at the one meeting where he said that he was gonna do something with it. I think that you folks have done everything that you can do to be patient, and now it's time that we take the hardline approach. Because you have neighbors whose quality of life is suffering because of their neglect.
They don't deserve that kind of,
No, they really don't. These homes are
Property next
nice,
door.
so they're kept well, and,
Yes.
yeah. It's not fair.
I would say unless there's objection, start the ball rolling.
Which make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we have the marshal and attorney begin the process on the nuisance ordinance. As of now, these 2 properties that we have known owners.
Which is 356 West Jefferson, and what's the other one there, 250?
255 North.
I second.
Okay, motion made by Albert, seconded by Mrs. Riddell. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
Mr. Pfaff?
Yes.
Mr. Pshinski?
yes.
Albert votes yes, passes 4-0.
Thank you guys for doing this.
So a lot of credit goes to
Yes.
Darren.
Lot of
Thank you,
work.
Darren.
I love the visuals, Darren.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I was gonna do PowerPoint, but I thought it'd be a little much. I think that's it. I mean, Ethan and I sat down Monday, because we wanted to discuss this, and Him and I are both gonna do some extensive work on the ordinances that the police department deals with specifically. So we'll have continuity with all of the fines and the payment methods, and we're gonna clean up the burning ordinance and stuff. I think we came up with some pretty good ideas on how to make things a little easier.
Good.
And then hopefully when we lien some of these other properties that we don't know that's going on, we can recoup something there, cause I mean, I know Bubba and them still gotta cut the grass regardless, cause nobody's there.
That's all I have. That wasn't too bad.
You have RVs?
Oh, yeah.
You're not done.
Dang it.
Sorry, people, it was on here, I couldn't let it slide.
Ethan and I actually discussed that Monday. We still get a lot of complaints on RV parking.
Is
Fair-
that still going on though?
It was gone, when I worked Friday night, Saturday night, it was gone off Fairview. I don't know if he's back, I didn't see it today. But we, in the same aspect, we have the house in Water Tower. The guy that says that was the worst thing that happened to Westville. But he has 2 RVs, a pontoon, and 500 vehicles in his yard and it's just a mess. So, I mean, if you live in a subdivision, you know that's where you live, you don't go out and buy all that stuff and pile it up so that all your neighbors and everything can look at it. So Ethan and I think, had a pretty good idea that we're gonna put together an ordinance that gives some description as to where an RV can be parked and how many RVs can be per household. So, I mean, I don't have a need for 2 campers and a pontoon at my house, I don't know why.
You're getting pontoon?
Kind of fun.
They make areas for that, where they can
Yeah.
park and pay rent.
Yeah.
And that was what we had talked about, is kind of having a set of requirements that, I mean, if you have those types of items, you can have them, but you have to do it in compliance, otherwise, I mean, then we'd have the ability to
Right.
impose fines on it.
And with the RV parking, I think maybe we could address the issue like at 255 North where we have somebody living in an RV, because there's sewage going someplace.
Yeah.
We will be coming back to you with plenty of amendments to existing
And
ordinances,
pictures?
I imagine.
I can do pictures. I've got a great camera.
And aren't we, still working on, parking on one side of the street?
Yes,
Yes.
that was part of what we discussed.
Yes. Bubba and I had looked at our budgets and we were both thinking, like the
Sign
fall, September, go ahead and purchase the signs and then, getting the money together to paint curbs if we need to paint curbs and that kind of thing. So by the end of the year, I think we'd have the ordinance and the signage and everything to put up for Water Tower.
Yeah, cause I noticed there on
Those signs aren't cheap, I know.
commercial, that they were parked on both sides and with a car was going
Yeah,
through a fire.
we're having some troubles there with the bank because they're crowding that entrance and bank employees are having trouble getting in and out. So Ethan and I discussed how to address that entrance specifically and.
You put it away from the side, opposite side of the street to the mailboxes.
Yeah.
That was what the thought was, yeah.
Make it,
Is it possible to like, on the main drag, since you have so much paths through traffic in Water Tower, like on commercial and, I can't think of the other.
Alan John.
Alan John, to have like no parking during certain hours of the day?
We were
on
gonna
the main-
do.
Because there's so much pass-through traffic into Jefferson, I know that's, like, a lot of that, I think that would clear, I've heard a lot of
Yeah,
it.
my thoughts on Alan John would be no parking at all.
That would sound, I would agree with that.
I tell you, it's dangerous on Allen John, you got Jacob, Carl, and those streets in there, there's a lot of people, they don't stop when they're coming south, they just come up and wheel around the corner, and you're already out in the middle of the lane because there's cars parked there. That's a bad situation.
Well, right there by the Casey's gas station, when I pull up, I can't tell you, at least 3 times in the past 2 weeks, somebody's turned off of 421 and just turned right in
Yeah.
front of me
Yep.
into the gas station, as if I'm not, don't have the right of way to pull up to 421, so. It's that intersection, and what the fear that I have is when you put these no parking signs up on Allen John, guess what's gonna happen to Luke, right? I mean, or the other roads, is the people that are normally parking on Allen John now are gonna go park on our street that, right now where I live, you can barely get through, because there's 2 or 3 cars parked at the end of the street on both sides of the street.
we gotta.
You're
do
literally
them all- we
sitting
gonna do all
out,
those with
sitting out
parking
on
one
Allen
side?
John, waiting for somebody to come up so that you can pull down your own road. That's the way it is now.
So hopefully then it'll
Yeah,
be
we're-
parking on one side of the
Yeah,
street.
that's what we're hoping to alleviate is any backup there going in. Cause there are there's narrow streets.
And if you put these restrictions on, people might start parking in their driveways, using their garages,
Yeah.
and pulling a lot of the cars out.
And there's
Concept.
Right now, Allen John is kind of a mess just because of the construction, but typically there might be 5 or 6 cars on Allen John, so it's not putting no parking on Allen John isn't gonna be a huge issue. The biggest adjustment's gonna be getting everybody to park opposite side of the mailboxes, but we'll get it.
Financing for police department. Oh,
I have an update on that, you had asked me to look at that at the last meeting, and I was able to find, and that was part of my discussion with John Schaefer here, is that, the town does have the ability to borrow up to $2 million, just through conventional means, which would mean going out and signing a note with a local bank here. The term could be no longer than 10 years. Basically, what we would need to do for the next steps for that is go out and, contact a couple of local banks, feel them out for what their terms would likely be, and start flushing out our options there. Once we did make a decision to go with one of those banks, we have to publish legal notice and there's a couple other requirements, but that's the process we would be looking at.
Okay.
I heard the book bank is sold.
The Verizon, yeah.
Anything else on police?
I have that transfer.
That's coming up.
Okay.
We didn't want to put
I
it.
I jumped ahead.
Like to,
You know, I kinda like talking.
the more you talk, it's the less Lori talks.
It's a good fair.
Okay, finance, resolution 2016-4, transfer funds. Be it resolved by the Westville Town Council, the following funds be transferred. Transfer $15,000 from appropriation 101-200134 health insurance general fund police to appropriation 101-2003-61 repair and maintenance general fund police. I'll make a motion that we, well, this is just because there's a bunch of, we haven't used a lot of money that was in health insurance under the police, but we've had higher repair and maintenance, so it's just transferring, it's within the general fund, within the police fund of the general fund. So I will make a motion that we adopt resolution 2016-4.
Second.
Motion made by Albert, seconded by Mrs. Riddell to adopt resolution 2016-4. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
Mr. Pfaff?
Yes.
Albert votes yes. Mr. Waschinsky?
Yes.
Passes 4-0.
And I would like to say to the council that there's been a lot of money that you guys have seen being poured into the old Crown Vic. But the money that we did not use to buy the new squad car is still in place. And Darren's done an excellent job of patching the Crown Vic up to make it still safe for the officers. So that's what this is all about, and I give you all kinds of credit for what you've done with that.
Thank you.
Keeping it safe, that's the most important thing. So thank you all for doing that, so we can keep it on the road.
Mike, I have one more item I'd like to, this is a late entry, but under finance.
Okay.
I think we now do have an agreement for the fire protection contract.
Yeah, we also have this appropriation. Fire department, I contacted the fire department about their contract. 3% is what we had budgeted, and they came back with 3% and plowing their snow. Because we plow, they claim there's a state law that says that you can't push snow blocking their drive, and I told them I don't think we want to get into the business of plowing snow on private property because they are a private entity. And I said, well, what are you talking about? Just on the north side where our street is? Oh, no, the whole thing, including the parking lot. Well, I kind of bluntly said I don't think that was going to happen in ways that I won't tell you here, but then they said, well, the cost of living is 5%, you only give us 3%, and I said, I don't know anywhere that the cost of living has gone up 5%, or if it has, I don't know of anybody that's giving a 5% raise in salary. They're a private contractor, that I think they need to look to other finance. They also have a contract with the township, which I think we're paying more.
Township's not gonna give them 5% off.
And Jackson Township, so they contract with other entities too, so we have been very generous in there, so if with the council's blessing, I would like to take back 3% and that's it to them. And I'd like to vote that we approve that pending their approval.
I second that motion.
Yeah, I think if this is discussion, I think that's very appropriate, especially when our draw is gonna be 2%.
2%.
Yeah.
Something
it's-
we're giving them well above what we're
Yeah.
gonna be able to actually operate on,
Right.
so I think that's very fair.
Yeah, and the belt might be tighter for them next year and the following year, so
yeah.
we have to tighten our belt here
Yeah,
around this table, and they're gonna
Yeah.
have to do the same.
Yeah,
I mean, they
I-
perform a very important job, but so do we,
Yeah,
so do the police, and so, well, you act supported, but,
I look at that, a couple of snowstorms that we had last year, and I don't see any way that
No.
you can pony up, you're gonna plow for.
and I would think that if it was an extremely tough storm or it was really, really deep, I would think that if they talked to Bubba, he would make a,
I'm
knock-
sure he
knock
would,
down a hump.
yeah.
Yeah,
But not like he's not
absolutely.
busy enough in the,
Right.
all these guys are in a major storm.
Right.
And another thing is, they put a generator in there, and they open it up to the people that are stranded, so there's 4 or 5 firemen at least that have plows in their truck that will have the job done before we'd ever get there anyway.
Yeah.
well, I would just hate for us to commit to a contract
Yeah,
of
that's not
that sort.
what we need.
We will do what we need to do to help.
Yeah.
Like Jim said, Bubba's not gonna say no.
I spent 20 years on the fire department there, and we always had to drive by plow
Mhm.
without asking the town.
And the state didn't plow the west side where they went over it, did they?
No.
No. they didn't, so. And nobody plows the south side, they want that done, so, motion made, by Albert, second by Mr. Bashinsky, to, approve with the fire department a contract of only 3%, and that's it, no other, stipulations like snow removal. And we had discussion, is there any more discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
Mr. Bath?
Yes.
Albert votes yes. Mr. Bashinsky?
Yes.
Passes 4-0, and I will get back with everybody if they don't accept this. We have an additional appropriation ordinance. It's not just an ordinance, is it?
That's what John gave.
Yeah, okay. We had an additional appropriation, we had $57,917. It was 57,917, wasn't it? Cut from our budget, Lori?
Yes.
Cut from our budget of what we had. The money was there in the draw, but it was due to a situation involving the county council. So we are getting money that we already had budgeted for this year that we had to cut temporarily. So this is not additional money that we're actually taking out of money that we, unappropriated funds. So I will make a motion that and we had a hearing at 6:30 and there was no, one from the public, with any issues against the additional appropriation. I will make a motion that we approve the additional appropriation of $57,917.
Second.
Motion made by Albert, seconded by Mr. Fath. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
Mr. Fath?
Yes.
Albert votes yes. Mr. Bashinsky?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. This is just a dramatic pause we have here while
I'm sorry. I always love the drama at the town council meetings.
Okay, then we have nothing else under finance. Okay, we have the scheduled fees for zoning ordinance 2016-10. Many of our fees we have for the zoning process. Lori got bigger tapes, they don't fit.
Yeah. Bungle in.
Yeah. I don't know what was said, but I'm sure it wasn't nice. Ordinance 2016-10, it's to establish fees and charges for our permits and things in the zoning process. many of the things that we have now, the fees are at a cost to the town rather than the person that is seeking to have these changes made. So this is an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Westville, Indiana, LaPorte County, Indiana, establishing a schedule of fees, charges, and expenses for location improvement permits, certificates of occupancy, certificates of compliance, applications for rezoning, applications for variances, for use variance, appeals from decisions of the administrator and other zoning and planning approvals. Whereas on or about October 13, 2009, the Town Council of the Town of Westville, Indiana, Town Council adopted ordinance 2009-3, which enacted the town's amended zoning ordinance. And whereas the town's amended zoning ordinance remains in full force and effect, and whereas Article 23 of the town's amended zoning ordinance states that the Town Council of the Town of Westville shall establish by chapter a schedule of fees, charges, and expenses and a collection procedure for location improvement permits, certificates of occupancy, certificates of compliance, applications for rezoning, applications for variance, for use variance, and for appeals from decisions of the administrator. And whereas in accordance to the Article 23 of the town's amended zoning ordinance, Town Council is desirous of adopting this ordinance in order to establish the aforementioned schedule of fees, charges, and expenses together with fees, charges, and expenses for others zoning and planning approvals within the town. Now therefore be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of Westville, LaPorte County, Indiana as follows. Section 1, incorporation of recitals. The above recitations or whereas clauses are adopted as findings of fact by the Town Council. Section 2, schedule of fees for zoning planning. The Town Council hereby adopts and establishes the following schedule of fees, charges, and expenses for zoning planning approvals within the town. Zoning planning approval, the use variance is $200. Single-family development standards variance, $150. Commercial industrial development standards variance, $200. Relief of an administrative decision, $200. Special meeting, $500. Zoning clearance, $100. Rezoning, $200. Subdivision primary plat is $150 and $10 per lot. Subdivision plat amendment or a replat is $150 and $5 a lot. A planned unit development is $500 and $10 per lot. A planned unit development amendment is $250 and $5 a lot. Subdivision final plat is $100 and $5 a lot. Annexation is $500 and vacation is $100. All the above referenced fees must be paid in full at the time that the applicant files its application with the town. All the above referenced fees are non-refundable. Section 3, severability. If any section, paragraph, or provision of this ordinance shall be held to be invalid or unenforceable for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction, such decisions shall not affect any other section, paragraph, or provision of this ordinance. Section 4, repealer. All ordinances, resolutions, and orders or parts thereof in conflict with the provisions of this ordinance are, to the extent of such conflict, hereby appealed. Section 5, effective date. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect after passage and any publication required by law. I would like to make a motion that we approve ordinance 2016-10 on the first reading.
Second.
Motion made by Albert, seconded by Mr. Bashinsky to approve ordinance 2016-10 on the first reading. Is there any discussion on the ordinance?
This is really good we have this in place. This should catch a lot of costs
Yep.
incurred. Definitely.
Lori deserves credit.
Good job, Lori. That's,
I guess so. Kudos, Lori. Is there any other discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
Mr. Fath?
yes.
Mr. Bashinsky?
Yes.
Albert votes yes. Passes 4-0.
Do you want to suspend the rules tonight?
Yes, would you like to?
I would like to make that motion.
I will second the motion. Motion made by Mrs. Riddell, seconded by Albert to suspend the rules and adopt ordinance number 2016-10. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Riddell?
Yes.
Mr. Fath?
Yes.
Mr. B?
Yes.
Albert votes yes. Passes
Gotta read it
4-0.
again for us?
Thank you, Lord.
I know why you said that.
I can't believe that I got the Roman numerals without having to count everything. Citizens' comments. Anything else come before the council?
Question.
Hi.
Is Valparaiso Street happen to be one of the streets that's going to be repaved, do you know?
To a certain point, that's from Valparaiso, from the 421, just past the school, because there's no way, we have enough road money this year to go all the way and get a couple other roads, so.
And, what's the timeline of that, do you know?
We gotta wait till the bids come in.
Okay,
It'll probably be next month sometime or the following month.
because we have a humble fee that we have to pay of $500 to hook into the water and $500 to hook into the sewer, and then we have to pay to repave in front of the pole barn where we put it up, so if there's any way we can
Oh,
coordinate
not,
it.
that's
No.
not
Your
on
west.
your
West
end,
Val.
that's on the
Okay.
other end.
All right, thank you. And the, one other thing, there's a new electric pump, or for electric cars.
Yes.
Yes.
Out in
just
front of
installed.
the park.
Mhm.
Is that for anyone's use,
Mhm.
or?
Yep.
That's all I have, thank you.
You have an electric car?
Maybe,
Okay.
not yet.
You can be our first visitor, we can get your
On the
picture,
That's right.
we can have a ribbon cutting and everything.
Never see it.
Power
Do they have ribbon cutting?
But, yeah, I mean, if you get a free
I have to get
electric,
the data.
why not? Free
Jersey's
electric.
having a ribbon cutting for their like EV
Is
chargers.
it-
It's a
Oh,
fee.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
they wanted us to be present at that.
We looked
Where's
at it, I
that?
didn't see any place
It's
for
at
money.
the Portage, over at their,
Understood.
Anything else? I think we broke a record for the
Right.
2016. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So be it.
Second.
Don't run off.
Second by,
Don't issue.
motion made by Mr. Pashinsky, seconded by Mr. Kraft to adjourn. Any discussion? All
Did
those in
not bring
favor?
that up.
Aye. Opposed?
But-
The meeting adjourns at 7:52.
Well, and I